Hi everyone, meteorologist Joe Chaffee as we take a look at our weather for today and also take a look at the latest on Tropical Storm Hermine. First off, we actually had some rain overnight in some places, and we have a cold front that's edging on through, and you can see the clouds pushing eastward, and there's lots of dry air behind it coming into western New York and western Pennsylvania and Ohio, and all of that will be pushing east. So I suspect what we'll see is clouds can start to move away to the east as we go through the day, and we'll gradually go to decreasing clouds and increasing amounts of sunshine during this afternoon. And temperatures will probably be in the 80s, into the low 80s, upper 70s and low 80s until this dry, cool air comes in. You can see the clouds from James Bay are moving north to south. So that's where our air is coming from, right? This region here. So it's a nice, cool shot of air. And it's going to do us a lot of good, at least to set us up for Friday and probably Saturday, where temperatures are not going to get out of the 70s. In fact, we're probably not going to see temperatures getting out of the 70s into next week because of the moisture and the player that is Tropical Storm Hermine, because that is going to be moving up the eastern seaboard. Let's take a closer look at the tropical storm as it continues to move north-northeast at about 11 or 12 miles an hour. It continues to organize and strengthen. I looked at some recon reports during the morning hours that had flight level winds near or just above hurricane force. So that usually translates to slightly lower amounts at the surface, but I would not be surprised if this thing becomes a hurricane later today. Now, when we look at the weather models with this, this is still a puzzle that we can't figure out very well yet. There's the NAM model, which brings it in pretty far to the west over the Florida Panhandle, and then takes it north-northeast from there until it gets to about North Carolina on Sunday morning. This is the run that we got in the middle of the night. This is the mid-model run series, and newer than the one that comes in around midnight. And you can kind of see that it's just after it gets to North Carolina, it just kind of jogs straight eastward. This is for Sunday afternoon, where the rain shield moves into southern New Jersey. Now, the GFS model last night took it. I'm going to show you first off what it did on the midnight run that we got. And this was a decided shift to the east, taking the tropical storm and straddling it along the Carolina coast, moving it out northeast, then hooking it back westward to just south, south of Montauk, east of Cape May, by Sunday evening, which would put Long Island and New Jersey in rain, and in some areas some pretty strong winds. I was looking at some of the wind profiles aloft, and it would suggest that we would have gusts certainly to gale force with this, lasting into Monday, and then the storm just slowly meanders and works its way out to the northeast. The new run tucks it in back further west again, taking it inland around or just east of Panama City, moving it up along the coast, moving it out, but keeps moving it north-northeast until it gets to southeast of Cape May, and then kind of hooks it back toward the coastline. Now we're into Sunday afternoon here. So the model is, this run is further north and west. It's also further north and west with the rain shield, which I think is equally as important to look at because we're trying to get some drought busting done with all of this. So that's going to be important. I can say that, just based on what we're looking at, certainly through the daytime Saturday, let's assume the GFS is a little fast because it would have rain almost to New York City by Saturday evening. But I think most of Saturday should be fine, and then we'll get into whatever we're going to get into Saturday night and Sunday. And all of this is going to hinge, by the way, on how this tropical storm reacts to the upper air storm that develops, and that's what's taking it up northeastward. Here's that trough that is fracturing, and you see how the jet stream. So you have these upper winds across the northeast Friday afternoon running from west to east, but you have this part of the trough that dips down and picks up the tropical storm and then lifts it up, and then it intensifies. The problem is that you have this upper high now that builds up, that trough of the east pulls out, so this big upper high builds. You can see the westerly winds retreat up into Canada. So this thing can only go so far north, which is its natural tendency, before it starts to want to get shoved to the east. And that's what the model is indicating here. It's how it all reacts to this upper air storm, and different models are handling this in different ways, including the European, which real quick, we'll show you that. And you'll see that it has a slightly different view on it. It takes it takes the upper system much further to the east. It also stalls it out just offshore and over warmer water, which intensifies it to a hurricane at some point. But this would keep the bulk of the action offshore, even though I think it does imply that we would get some weather out of this. So I'll switch back here. You can take a look at the surface map at all. So you can see it right there. So the European last night kind of went with the GFS model that ran with it, except it stalled it out further to the east and just kind of sits it there, because we're into Tuesday night and we still have a hurricane sitting to our south and east. This type of scenario would also imply all the models would imply some issues regarding coastal flooding and beach erosion, although they would not. There would not be any kind of big storm surge problem, because the actual center of the tropical system remains offshore. So we will update this for you, of course, later today. So just you'll get your notification on the app as the forecasts get updated.